Okay, before we take our flight, we want to make sure that the weather is going to be nice where we're flying to. And if we need to, pick an alternative airport. AARO stands for Airworthiness Certificate, needs to be in the aircraft at all times. An aircraft registration along with an owner's operation handbook. The weight and balance for the passenger's weight plus all the fuel. And at this point, let's make sure that the fuel valve is on. We just look at the switch, it's a left, right, or center, and the fuel is on. Next, we're going to look at the master switch on. The personal flight display needs to verify once that warms up that it is on. Now let's fully extend our flaps. The low fuel lights need to be off, and the fuel gauges need to be true, because on a G1000 we adjust the fuel after it's been filled up or to the tabs. Next, let's do the annunciator panel. We need to verify that that is operable. The electrical bus 1 and 2 will have a fan motor based on the switch. Make sure that the stall indicating and the pitot heat switches are operable and that they were giving heat for the pitot. Turn the lights, necessary lights on or off, and at this time let's go ahead and turn the master switch off.
Hi, my name is John Schreurs. I'm a certified flight instructor, codenamed Viper Wolf. I'm going to be walking through the pre-flight inspection here with you, starting at the nose of the plane. You've got the propeller here. You want to visually inspect it for any rock chips or prop strikes before you fly the aircraft. Just touching this propeller to the ground could ruin the engine on a plane, so it's a very critical part of the inspection. We've got the alternator belt inside of here. You want to make sure that's tight. Look inside the cowling. A bird could have built a nest inside the plane. We've got the air up here. You want to make sure the exhaust pipe is stationary and solid. We've got the nose wheel and the wheel strut. Make sure that's not bottomed out. You want to make sure there's at least about a credit card of height there on that shock. We've got the spinner. That's the nose cone here. We've got the other side of the propeller. Looking for bird nests. Make sure the cowling is fastened properly. All the screws are in place. We've got a pitot static port. Make sure that's not clogged. We'll jump up and visually inspect the fuel level. The wings are filled with fuel from about here over to here. We'll make sure that there's fuel by visually touching and tasting. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Viper Wolf.
Okay, and we have the pitot tube. This is what indicates the impact air will show an indication of airspeed on your dash. We've got the stall warning horn over there. This is just inlet air into the cabin. Visually inspect for everything. We have a fuel overflow drain line right here. Make sure that's not plugged. Again, here's your stall horn. Make sure there's nothing in that. Got your lights, taxi light and landing light. Walk around. Navigation lights, a beacon. Come around to the side. These are static wicks. We're going to lift the aileron here and visually inspect the hinges at each location. We've got linkage here with bolts and nuts. Visually inspect those. You never want to put your fingers up inside of there. You can see that's a pinch point. Safety wires going through each hinge. We've got the flap from this section in to here is the flap. It's used for landing at a higher angle of attack, more drag yet more lift at the same time. Make sure that's solid. Now that we're here, we're going to inspect the left wheel. We've got brake lines. Make sure the brakes aren't leaking. Brake pads, the tread on the tire, outside bolt, safety wire, proper inflation, looks good. We'll walk along the fuselage. This is the baggage door. This is another pedostatic port for the GPS. We've got antennas here. That's for the emergency locator transponder. No damage as we walk along the outside here. Everything's intact, screws are in place. We come to the elevator. Everything's in place. Works properly. Check for safety bolts and nuts properly fastened on the hinge points. Look underneath and do the same. We've got safety wires on the rudder and bolts. Everything's in place. Work our way up the rudder now. Again, more safety bolts, safety nuts in place, antennas.
Go.
Okay, we're right at 6 quarts, so we'll probably add a quart to the next flight. Again, make sure the cowling screws are properly fastened and in place. Look under the plate. I'd say this bird's ready to go. We've talked about two axes of the aircraft. The ailerons, which make the aircraft roll about the horizontal axis as if there's a bar going directly down the center of the aircraft. The ailerons will force the aircraft to roll about that axis. We've got the elevator back here, which has the aircraft pitch up and down across a lateral axis or a rod, basically going right through the wings of the aircraft. And then we have the secret third axis, the rudder, which causes the aircraft to yaw about an axis or an imaginary point going directly up through the center